So good evening. So my name is Vitoantonio Bevilacqua. I'm an associate professor of electronic, bioengineer electronic from Politecnico of Bari. First of all, I want to thank the previous speaker for having barred all my presentation because the topic is very, very similar. But anyway, I will try to introduce you to just the differences between our study and the study that we have done before. And let me give you some sketches about the affiliation of the co-authorship, because I think that more often the success of scientific collaboration will be promoted, because I think that in this field, for example, the fact that neurology can collaborate with psychologists, with electronic engineers and the bioengineers is very, very useful. So I have the privilege to give lecture to students at Politecnico of Bari and the School of Medicine as well, and then so I interact with students coming from different kinds of technologies. So the study, we have done two different studies, but I think that it's better to focus just on the second one, because we have just 10 minutes to speak about it. So we are trying to demonstrate that virtual reality could be a feasible application in order to implement some methodologies, of course, some non-pharmacological methodologies. And the studies that we present now is strictly related to the major cognitive impairments. In particular, we have two different studies, but I will be focused on the second one. We enrolled 15 patients. The patients were recruited from OAC Institute Research that is located in Troina. Troina is in the province of Anna in Sicily. And they have different kinds of methodologies in order to assess the impairment. So I will try to discuss about the drawbacks that we can meet by using this kind of methodologies. So the first drawback is the reduced number of patients that we enrolled. This is a particular problem because if you want to have an observational study, sometimes it's very difficult to collect a large number of patients. But by using some non-statistic methodologies, we try to trade off and balance the problems from the fact that we have just 15 patients. So we recruited 6 patients in an experimental group and 9 patients in a control group. The idea was as follows. So by using these serious games, we will try to have some information about the interaction between the people and the task. So suppose that a people decide to visit in your houses, and to be kind, suppose that you are interested in preparing to them a juice. So the application is able to have some legenda in order to explain the user to use the application.
Okay,
and
stai lavorando bene. Okay,
just follow a little.
Così. Prendi 2 mandarini.
So there are different kinds of fruits on the table, like for example oranges, like grapes or mandarins or tangerines, and there is the possibility to help the user by using some prompts or some suggestion. So as you can understand, there are some particular tasks to be done, like for example open shelves, prepare something, rotate something with the equipment in order to prepare the juice. And it's very important to help the user by using some hints, for example, and encouraging them by using like, okay, well done, congratulations, something like that, because it's very important. So as you can understand, there are different tasks. For example, just prepare different kinds of juices by using randomly fruits that will be available on the table. And The model is very simple, so is just need to reach the object, and the object is able to perform its task. So by using these methodologies, I think that it's better to stop the movie. The idea is that the engineers are asked to build and design the virtual reality as more realistic as possible, because our idea is as follows. We treat the patients by using virtual reality training, and then try to compare the performance of the two different groups, where the first group is recruited for virtual reality before, and the other no. So, as you can understand, the idea is just to have a battery of different kinds of serious games, like, for example, providing information, prepare a suitcase, taking medicine, or go to the market and supermarket to shop something. So the results are very useful in order to explain that the people that were previously treated by using a virtual reality perform better at the end of the study, but not in all the tasks. So the tasks that perform better are strictly related to the significance of the p-value demonstration. And for example, it's important to stress the idea that the number of correct responses will increase for the cohort that will recruit it before with training section, with virtual training section. And the capability to assess the amnesic performance will be increased as well. So there are different problems that are strictly related to the fact that the cohort is very reduced, but by using different kinds of methodologies that computer scientists use in order to augment the data, it's possible to have different kinds of studies in the future. So the problem is that, and this is the particular task that we assign to our group, and this is the possibility to customize the serious game to the people. Because there are a lot of applications in which we can run the risk that, for example, the computer graphics methodologies will be not so encouraging to the people. And this is a good task, it's a good goal for computer scientists and computer graphics in order to design the better performance for their environments. So, thank you. I think it's all.
Thank you. Perfect in time. So is there any question from the audience? Over there.
Thank you for sharing your experience. I am curious to know what software did you use, and is it commercially available?
No. We are in the Politecnico of Bari. In our lab, we developed by ourselves all kind of softwares. And we have C++ and C# programming, and we use different kinds of equipment to achieve information from the platform.
So going forward, if this looks like a successful program, how do you see the future? So would there be something available that you would be developing?
So probably 10 minutes are not good time enough to explain the main purpose of our study. The main purpose of our study is understand in a real world the methodology of usability. So we can run the risk that the application will be very important, but the results that you can achieve by using this application will be impaired from the fact that there is no standard at the moment available. So remember that, for example, in 80% of the case in Italy, they use mini-mental tests in order to assess the mild cognitive impairment of the patients. And there are a lot of other different kinds of battery from a neurological point of view. And they use different kinds of methodologies to achieve elicitation of stimuli. So this is the problem. This is the drawbacks, the limitation of the number of patients and the fact that we haven't got a particular standard in order to elicit the stimuli to the patients. And so if you don't overcome this problem, we will run the risk to having data, a lot of data that were not comparable to each other enough.
Thank you.
Another question here?
Major neurocognitive disturbance.
Pardon?
You said the patient with major neurocognitive disturbance were taken for this
Yeah.
virtual reality.
So-
may I know on what scale and what was the real, which scale you have taken and what was your criteria for major? Because if it is a major neurocognitive disturbance and if that can help you out, I mean, it will be something very, very exciting. So
Yeah.
I want to know what are the real
Yeah. So we have already published a couple of papers about this topic, and we explained the criteria to include and to exclude the patients. So we have the possibility to include the patient with the residual capabilities in terms of activity daily living and the instrumental activity daily living, and the exclusion criteria was no problem enough about, for example, the capability to interact to machine or the or residual capability in terms for understanding reading or understanding test. So this is very important, and in the 15 patients that we enrolled, as you can understand, the distribution of the variables were not Gaussian at all, and then we use different kinds of statistics, not parametric statistics, in order to address the idea that there is no significant differences between the people that we enrolled in experimental group and
criteria.
Pardon?
When you say somebody that you got a major neurocognitive disturbance,
Yeah.
so what was the scale you took? FABCOG or what you used?
Okay.
Took mini mental scale?
Yeah,
What is that you use?
We use different kinds of battery, but I remember that the criteria of inclusion, the best criteria of inclusion was the score of mini-mental test belong from 10 and 23.
So 10 would
10
be major, 23 is not major, 23 would be minor.
Yeah. So I'm not responsible of this selection because I'm a bioengineer. I'm not neither geriatrics
Title
or
need to change,
neurology.
not the more.
Yeah, probably you are true. Probably you are true, and probably the right title will be mild cognitive and not the major neurology. Yes,
Yes,
but
you're right.
it was not up to me.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Dr.
very much.
Bevilacqua.